Good evening. This is Interpersonal Communication, and I'm Sandra James, and this is Human Services 508, Liberty University Online, and the instructor is Dr. R.P. Smith. Okay, moving to the next slide. Okay, my first slide is the introduction slide, and in this slide, it begins with the identification of an overarching goal, OAG, definition of enlarging the conversation, reflective journals, background and behavior blend influences conversation, defining potential barriers in interpersonal context and how to deal with each one, identifying solutions to noise pollution, both internal and external, a plan of action with your OAG, overarching goal, in mind to improve interpersonal communication skills. These are the things that I'm going to cover tonight. Okay, moving to the next slide. Okay, the first one is the overarching goal. Be an effective listener. Concentrate on what others are saying. Send nonverbal messages to show you are listening. Be non-judgmental. Practice paraphrasing. Listen for feelings. Ask questions. Be an empathetic listener. Focus on what the talker is saying. Encourage the speaker to keep talking. Reflect on what you hear. Okay, in reference to this one, I'm basically trying to become a more effective listener since I've been in this course, because previously I was a person, that I would listen to the person, but I wouldn't really hear them because I would have good eye contact, but my mind would be elsewhere. So now I'm totally focusing on trying to be an effective listener. And also I'm trying to basically practice my paraphrasing by repeating everything the person has said so they will know that I'm truly interested. Moving to the next slide. Enlarging the conversation. And my definition of this for me is the sender translates the ideals into words or some other kind of message. The receiver perceives the message and retranslates it into an ideal. Moving to the next slide. Reflective journaling. Identity or self. Human behavior. Human response. Listening effectively. Show interest. Good eye contact. Being non-judgmental. Paraphrasing. Okay, yes. I have truly learned a lot by being in this course in reference to paraphrasing. Since I work with children every day, and some of my children are able to communicate and some do not communicate, but the ones that communicate, if they are talking to me and if they ask me a question or if they make a statement, I will make sure that I repeat the question or I'll repeat that statement to make sure that I will let them know, okay, I heard what you said, so basically I'm going to repeat what you said just to let you know that I'm interested and I am listening. Moving to the next slide. Reflective journaling, inhaling, perceiving and listening, inferring, selecting, organizing, listening, being attentive, show interest, mirroring, clarifying. Okay, in reference to this, whenever I communicate with the person, or if they communicate with me, or if I'm listening, or if they're listening, I try to be very attentive to what he or she is saying. I show interest either by my body language or my facial expressions, and I also mirror. Basically, say like for instance, if the person is so excited that they're talking to me, they're smiling, I will also smile too. Oh yeah, really, And basically I will clarify. If they say something, I will repeat what they said to let them know, okay, I'm still here, and I'm still listening. Moving to the next slide. Reflective journaling. When we don't hear each other, show interest, take turns when communicating, concentration and retention, concentrate on what was heard, retain information received. Okay, this is like the listener talker card, and I believe that this card has taught me a lot. I even made me one of those cards, the talker listener card, so that especially when I'm talking to my husband, we will basically swap conversations. I may put the talker side on his side and the listener side on my side. And then when he says his, and then, okay, when it's my turn, I turn the card around, just so everybody will get a fair chance. I believe that everybody should do that. So one conversation is not just, ran by one person. Okay, moving to the next slide. Reflective journaling, resistance. Use encouraging words. Use positive words. Always use clarification. Meta communication. Talk about the conflict or problem. If needed, seek a counselor or mediator. Always use encouraging words like for instance, "Oh, great job, Mason," or "Oh, you're such a good person." This is great conversation because that lets the person know, okay, he is really communicating with me and he understands me. Moving to the next slide. Behavior blend has influenced conversation. Yes, I did the Uniquely You profile and I found out that I'm a C type and an S type. And yes, in reference to the C type, one of the things that I know that I am is cautious. Two of the things rather, cautious and careful. I try to make sure that I don't hurt anybody's feelings when I talk to them. I try to be careful and cautious. That's just me. I've always been that way. Next slide. My S type. And one of the things on this S type that I know that I have been for years is shy. That's one thing that I have tried to break myself out of. I've taken speech courses when I was in high school. I've taken speech courses when I was an undergrad. And those courses have helped me a lot because I have been able to talk to people, talk to large crowds without being nervous, without, having the jitters. And also this course has helped me also with my communicating so that my shyness would just go away. Okay, next slide. Behavior blend has influenced conversation. Environmental need. Established work pattern, identification with the group, stability of situation. Responds best to the leader who is relaxed and amiable, allows people to work at their own pace, clearly defines goals and means of reaching them. Next slide. Behavior blend has influenced conversation. Environmental need, team participation, explanations, clearly defined tasks, limited risk, responds best to a leader who maintains a supportive atmosphere, defines concise, detailed operating standards. Next slide. Potential barriers in interpersonal context. Listen without agreeing, stay in focus, eye contact, show interest, show understanding. Yes, these are things that I am truly working on by showing eye contact and staying focused because like I said previously, I'm a person that throughout many conversations that I have had with people, I will be listening, looking at them, but my mind is not there. So I'm working on being able to stay focused and show interest. Just let the person know, okay, Sandra is here with me. So Sandra understands what I'm saying through her facial expressions, through her body language. Next slide. Potential barriers in interpersonal context. Listen without advising, being quiet. Let the talker do all the talking. Don't interrupt. Let the talker have the floor. Now this I have no problem with since I am a quiet person. This has always happened to me. I don't interrupt. I let the talker have the floor. But since I've been in this course, I have, kind of changed that because I'm trying to talk more. I'm trying to communicate more. Next slide. Potential barriers in interpersonal context. Physical barriers. Try to be well rested. Show no signs of fatigue. Fear barriers. Paraphrase. Ask questions to get the person to open up and talk. Now that's the one thing that I love to do is ask questions because I want to find out more about a person. So I will ask the question just to get to know that person, just to have that person to open up. I do this every day in the class I do deal with, especially with the children that can communicate, and also with the other teachers that I work with and my family members. Next slide. Identifying and providing solutions to noise pollution, internal and external. Internal, think things through before speaking. Listen thoroughly to your thoughts. Think positive thoughts. Yes, everybody should think things through before speaking because you don't want to say the wrong thing. That can really hurt a person if you say the wrong thing. Next slide. Identifying and providing solutions to noise pollution, internal and external. Internal, self-awareness. Give us an understanding of why we are behaving the way we are. Next slide. Identifying and providing solutions to noise pollution, internal and external. External, talker speaking too low. Ask speaker to speak up to be heard. Time pressure, deadlines. Try to meet all deadlines before the due date. Have enough time to communicate without rushing. Interruptions, phone calls. Don't take phone calls if in the middle of a conversation or ask the person to hold for a minute. views of outside scenery. Stay focused on the conversation. Stay away from easy distractors. Now, in reference to phone calls, I know I have done this. Whenever I talk to my children at home, I want to know how their day is. So whenever I get a phone call, a lot of times I would not take it because I want to finish my conversation. And that's very important. Okay, next slide. Plan of action with your OAG in mind to improve interpersonal communication skills. Listening and understanding. Never rush a conversation. Speak in a very enthused tone to show interest. Don't talk fast. Slow, medium pace. Acknowledge the talker, nodding the head, leaning forward. Facial expressions to match talker's feelings. I've done that too. Like whenever people talk to me, if they're happy, I will smile along with them. And if they're sad, I sometimes will have a sad face also right along with them. I'm basically matching the talker's feelings. I've done that so many times. And I always nod my head. Oh yeah, right. I understand, yes. And when I'm interested, I always lean forward. I'm good for that. That's one thing that this class has taught me. And plus, I've done this before I've taken this class. Next slide. Plan of action with OAG in mind, which will invite others to join conversation. Ask if anyone is familiar with the subject to gain more people in the conversation, to get more thoughts and ideas. Okay, now this is something that I'm working on. Now I've done this before. I had this course, like for instance, whenever I'm talking to my students or with family members or friends, I may have a conversation going on, and then if I want others to join in, if I want their thoughts, if I want their ideas, I will ask them, oh, so what do you think about that, Kathy? Or what do you think about that, Johnny? Do you have something to add to that? Now, that's very important in communicating and conversation. That helps to make the conversation go on, and it helps to make it important because you get other people's ideas and thoughts. That's very important. Next slide. Okay, that's it for my interpersonal communication. I hope you enjoyed my project, and thank you and have a good evening.